from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
And a very warm welcome to the National News of Rupavahini, ChannelEye. I'm Dilanjali Ananda.
I'm Charita Bilipurarachi, and now let's move on to the headlines for tonight's news.
President informs the Parliament over the progress of the IMF negotiations. China extends assurances to obtain the IMF fund facility. Election Commission decides April 25th to be more suitable to conduct the local government elections. Water and tear gas attack on the IUSF protest. SJB MP Mayantha resigns from the Committee on Public Finances. Tense situation in Parliament over the temporary chairman. A tense situation between the police and a group of villagers. 8 policemen injured. 15 killed in Indonesia landslide. Dozens missing.
And for those and other stories in detail on your top story. President Ranil Wickremesinghe informed the Parliament today that the financial assurance letter received from the Exim Bank of China last night and the letter of agreement which he signed with the Governor of the Central Bank had been sent to the International Monetary Fund.
Accordingly, the President stated that he has fulfilled his obligation to the country and anticipates that the International Monetary Fund will fulfill its responsibility prior to the end of this month. President Wickremesinghe made these remarks while delivering a special statement in Parliament this morning to provide an update on Sri Lanka's current economic situation and the progress made with the IMF's assistance to the country. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that starting in 2021, the IMF has been issuing consistent warnings about Sri Lanka's economic crisis, specifically regarding the foreign exchange crisis. Since mid-2022, discussions between the IMF and Sri Lanka have been ongoing, with regular delegations visiting the country for extensive talks concerning the balance of payments, fiscal crisis, the foreign exchange crisis. Additionally, the IMF has emphasized the need for implementing long overdue structural reforms, stating that there is no room for delay. He added that the government had to fulfill the requirements set by the IMF, which included revisions to electricity tariffs and fossil fuel prices, ensuring the independence of the central bank and increasing interest rates to control inflation, reforming public enterprise, strengthening the social safety net, working to increase the public revenue and controlling public expenditure. Expanding competition in the petroleum and electricity sectors had to be completed in advance, he further added. The President said that the tasks set for Sri Lanka have been completed by now. He said that the government apologizes for the hardships that the people had to suffer. He said that they received the letter of financial assurance from Exim Bank of China last night. Accordingly, on the same night, the letter of agreement was signed by him and the governor of the central bank had forwarded to the IMF. He said that they are being hopeful for the IMF to fulfill its duty before the end of this month by the 4th week. He said that the government will receive the first round of money from the World Bank and ADB. Therefore, he said that the government recognizes the people's right to freedom of speech and it should be done peacefully. Holding meetings and holding protests is not a problem, but he said that if this program is disrupted through the agitation, this government will act strongly on it. He said that the value of the rupee is appreciating against the dollar. This country had collapsed on July 9th. The situation would not exist today. There was no support from anyone at time, he added. The President extended his gratitude to the armed forces and the police who acted to uphold the peace in the country. As a result of their efforts, he said that the country has fuel and electricity today. Also, before long, dollars will be available. Therefore, he said that the government will not allow these sinister forces to destabilize this program. He invited the opposition to join with the government in this endeavor of stabilizing the country's economy. After accomplishing this, he said that the government can decide on holding the presidential election and general election. The country's income situation should be considered specifically by the mid-June, which would potentially impact the decision-making process. Once the IMF agreement is reached, the President said that the agreement would be tabled in Parliament. He said that the government will bring a new draft on the government's way forward of the road to map. He added that it will be submitted to the National Assembly, and he further said that the Parliament will be presenting a long-term and a mid-term after the Parliament has discussed and reached an agreement agreement on it. At present, a number of reports have been received from the National Assembly and committees of the Parliament. He said that they were able to complete this work within a short period of 8 months.
China extends financial assurances in support of Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, potentially clearing the biggest hurdle for the country to secure a $2.9 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. Sri Lanka defaulted on its $46 billion of foreign debt last May, which caused months of food and fuel shortages around the nation. After approaching the IMF for assistance, Sri Lanka preliminarily agreed with the global lending agency to receive a 48-month loan under the Extend Fund facility to help restore economic stability. However, in order to proceed with the IMF's financing process, the official bilateral creditors have to provide the global agency with adequate assurances that they will take steps to help restore debt sustainability of the debt-ridden nation. China and India are the biggest lenders to the country. Accordingly, India and the Paris Club of Creditors, along with the private creditors, previously extended their support to Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process with assurances given to the IMF. In January, the Export-Import Bank of China offered the country a 2-year moratorium on its debt and extended its support to the country's efforts to secure the IMF loan, which was not adequate to meet IMF conditions by the end of 2020. Sri Lanka owed the Export-Import Bank of China $2.83 billion, or 3.5% of the country's external debt, according to IMF data. Under such conditions, Sri Lanka received fresh financial assurances from China on debt restructuring on the parameters required by the International Monetary Fund. Accordingly, foreign news agencies have emphasized over the high possibility for Sri Lanka to receive the bailout package from the International Monetary Fund.
And on the same note, Foreign Minister Ali Sabri says with the fresh financial assurances received from China, Sri Lanka will be able to proceed with the debt restructuring process and obtain the fund facility extended from the IMF. He also said that the assurances from the bilateral and private creditors will allow the country to regain confidence and the credibility in the international arena and advance the recovery process. He made these remarks while speaking to the national television today.
So we are extremely grateful for all our friends. The Indians have already given the assurances. They were the first to come, and Paris Club followed it. And China had given their assurances. We must thank China for standing up and supporting Sri Lanka at this very crucial moment, because for China, this is the first time they are giving the sort of assurances which IMF wanted, to giving assurances to restructure the loans to given to any country. So therefore, we are extremely grateful for Chinese government and the people of China for standing with Sri Lanka and at this very crucial juncture. With these assurances, the IMF board can convene, because we have done all the prior action which are necessary for an IMF program. So we hope on the 20th of this month, when the board meeting is scheduled to be taken, or thereafter, we should be able to get the IMF facilities. IMF facilities are very, very important. Not that $2.9 billion is going to make a huge change and that will solve all our problems. Once the IMF get involved and start lending, the message which gives to the international public is different. That is, Sri Lanka is on the path to recovery. Their debts can be repaid, and therefore it's time that people in the international arena start working with Sri Lanka. That's the message that will come. So with that, I think we will start talk for restructuring actually. Thereafter, what are the assurances that we have got from Asian Development Bank and the World Bank, and I also feel the AIIB and probably the Japanese government and also JICA agencies will start their projects once again in Sri Lanka. So we are very hopeful this will be the foundation for Sri Lanka's recovery. The most important thing is this will rebuild the confidence in Sri Lanka, and we can already see that the Sri Lankan public and the migrant workers who are working in somewhere else have started to send their money through the banking channel. Tourists have started to come to Sri Lanka, and rupee has stabilized. In fact, rupee is appreciating. So with all those things, I think this is a very, very good sign, and this will probably the turnaround Sri Lanka was looking forward in order to get the Sri Lankan economy recovered to higher levels.
Now, economic analyst Zananath Fernando says that the loan facility extended by the International Monetary Fund is an assurance which boosts the credibility of the country to win the confidence of the international community. He added that this assurance will provide many opportunities for the country to negotiate loan facilities and investments with other nations. He made these remarks in a special discussion with the national television.
Sri Lanka's economy, as we all know, in a dire situation. So now the IMF Executive Board has to approve the agreement, then we will get the money, but it is not the money, it is the credibility of the IMF that will help Sri Lanka to at least give some temporary relief for the situation. And at the same time, there's a conversation that IMF agreement will be finalized within the last few weeks of this month. With that also, there's a positive sentiment, but I must also say it is not favorable for markets to have shocks at a shorter period of time. My view is taxes has to be also looked at in relation to the expenditure. Sri Lanka is one of the lowest tax collected countries in the region, but at the same time our expenditure is also not at all acceptable. Just to give you some figures, the expected pay is 100 billion for 2023. If the country pays pay, the maximum that we can collect is 100 billion. But our airline, as an example, has lost 113 to 117 billion for 6 months. And our petroleum corporation has lost 600 billion for 8 months for last year. That is 6 times the entire pay of the entire country. So I see mainly we have to first cut down the expenditure across the board, because then only people will have a positive intention to pay the taxes. Otherwise it would be very difficult to do the tax reforms. But having said that, I admit that for the services that we use, like there's education, healthcare, someone has to pay. There is nothing called a free lunch.
Now, views were shared in the parliament following the announcement made by the president over the financial assurance received from the Exim Bank of China. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that China has always been a close friend of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, China has extended its support to Sri Lanka with the financial assurances issued to the IMF, as informed by the president. However, he said that the opposition was not excited about the positive news regarding the IMF process. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that they have no reason to be excited at a time when the interest rates are maintained at 30 to 35% while forcing the local factories to end their operations. Responding to the opposition leader, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the government can only last for 2 weeks if the authorities are unable to reach an agreement with the IMF and restructure its debt. He said that the country has to accept the universal financial mechanisms when their letter of credit are not accepted by banks across the world. Therefore, he said that they have to follow such mechanisms and set parameters accordingly.
The Sri Lankan rupee appreciated further against the US dollar today. Accordingly, the buying rate is at 318 rupees and 30 cents and the selling rate is at 335 rupees and 57 rupees. The appreciation was driven largely by the assurance extended by China to the IMF over a possible financial assistance and the debt restructuring process. It was also supported by better dollar inflow from tourism and remittances and a downturn in imports. The Sri Lankan rupee has continued to appreciate against the USD since last week. And meanwhile, the National Elections Commission has informed the district returning officers that the most suitable date for the local government elections is the April 25th. The relevant decision was reached during a meeting held at the Elections Commission this morning. Accordingly, the Commission has informed that the local government polls cannot be conducted on March 9th as previously scheduled. The Commission has decided that the most suitable date for the elections would be April 25th, considering the unexpected circumstances including the printing of ballot papers and the inability to provide relevant facilities to conduct the elections on March 9th. Accordingly, the statement issued by the Elections Commission had indicated that the relevant date for the elections will be declared by the returning officers of each district.
The parliamentarian Premanath Sidolawatha says the interim order issued by the Supreme Court on last Friday over the local government elections has violated parliamentary privileges and provisions. The MP raised this concern while addressing the parliament today.
Of parliament arising from the interim orders made on Friday 3rd March 2023 in the Supreme Court of case SCFR application 69/2023. The parliament has the power to act when there is a violation of its powers and privileges arises from Article 4C of the Constitution. Article 148, 149 and 150 of the Constitution, which the Parliament with the full control over the public finance, including the consolidated fund. Secondly, monies from the consolidated fund can only be withdrawn under the warrant signed by the Minister of Finance. Thirdly, the warrant can be issued only if the money is voted by the Parliament for a specific public purpose. Honourable Speaker, I recall my memory the late Honourable Andro Bandanaka decision over the court. Therefore, I see this is a clear breach of privilege and power of the Parliament. Please refer this to the Committee on the Parliamentary Privileges as an urgent matter. Thank you.
That will be referred to the Parliamentary Privileges Committee. Thank you.
The police launched a water cannon and tear gas attack on a protest organized by the Inter-University Students' Federation this evening.
The police launched the attack after the protesters continued the march forward without heading the police. The protesters marched from Lipton roundabout towards the Thumbula junction. Even though the police attempted to halt the rally near the Cinnamon Garden Police using roadblocks, the protesters continued to march ahead. Accordingly, the police launched a water cannon and a tear gas attack to disperse the protesters at the Thumbula junction. Subsequently, the protesters entered the Colombo University premises and the police intensified the security in the surrounding area. The Colombo Fort Magistrates Court had also issued an order preventing the protesters from entertaining several places, including the Presidential Secretariat, President's House, Finance Ministry and Goldface Green.
At least 8 police officers have been hospitalized following a clash between a group of residents in Attanayala, Virakatiya and the police. Reports have indicated that 2 civilians have also been hospitalized following the clash. The police have arrested 6 suspects over the incident. A group of Virakatiya police officers had visited Attanayala area last evening for a raid. Accordingly, the police had attempted to search a group of individuals who were staying on the road in Attanayala. Accordingly, the individuals who were surprised by the sudden search had protested against the checks. The argument transpired between the 2 groups had then escalated into a clash, and 2 sub-inspectors, 2 sergeants, 2 constables and 2 civil security sub-officers were hospitalized with injuries. One of the sub-inspectors has been transferred to Karapitiya Teaching Hospital for further treatments, while other officers have been transferred to Virakatiya District Hospital and Tangol Base Hospital for treatments. The officer in charge of Virakatiya Police, Inspector Vijayatunga, then took steps to settle the issue with the villagers. 6 persons have been taken into custody over the incident. Now, 8 individuals, including international drug traffickers Nadun Chintaka alias Harakkata and Salindu Malshika alias Kudu Salindu, have been taken into custody at the Avato airport in Madagascar.
Vikramratna Nadun Chintaka alias Harakkata is leading an illegal drug trafficking network in several countries. According to the Madagascar media, a Magalese woman who has been alleged as the wife of Harakkata and her father were taken into custody at the Vato International Airport on March 1st, along with another 5 Sri Lankans. Reports have indicated that the 5 arrested Sri Lankan suspects had arrived in Nosy Bay in a private jet on last 12 using forged passports. Subsequently, they had travelled to Antananarivo City. Salindu Malshika Gudaratna, according to the police, is a wanted suspect for several murders and arms and heroin records. A sum of 320 million in RRI currency, which was in the possession of the alleged wife of the drug trafficking leader, has been confiscated. The Interpol and Sri Lankan Narcotics Bureau took Nadun Chintaka into custody last year at the Dubai airport. According to Madagascar media, the suspect will be deported to Sri Lanka following the investigations. The Speaker informed the Parliament that the parliamentarian Mayantha Dissanayake has resigned from the chairmanship of the Committee on the Public Finance.
Meanwhile, a tense situation occurred in the Parliament over the appointment of MP Vajra Abeyewardene as the temporary chairman of the COPF. Speaker Mahindayappa Abeyewardene said that under the standing orders, MP Mayantha Dissanayake had tendered his resignation from the COPF chairmanship in writing.
කරනු කැමැත්තෙමි.
මේ මුදල්කාරක සභාව
MP Lakshman Kiriyalla said that MP Vajrabhayawardena has been appointed as a temporary chairman of the COPF. He said under the standing orders the chairmanship should be given to a member of the opposition even if the appointment is temporary.
Speaker Abeyewardene said that under the standing orders, any member of the parliament can be appointed to the chairmanship.
Minister Manu Chananayakara said that any member of the parliament can be appointed to the chairmanship of the COPF. He added that there is no requirement to hand over the chairmanship to MP Dr. Harsh De Silva. He appointed that the appointment and the resignation of MP Mayanth Disanayake from the position is an internal issue pertaining to the party. He also said that even though MP Champika Ranawaka was recommended to the opposition, he refrained from accepting the post.
MP Dr. Harsh De Silva said that the position should be given to a member of the opposition despite whether the position is given to him or not. However, he said that the intent is to nominate a member of the opposition from both the ruling party and the opposition.
MP Vajrabhayawardena said that he was nominated to the post after the previous chairman resigned from the post. He said that he was given the post on temporary basis based on the constitutional provisions and standing orders. And meanwhile, reports have indicated that the Aller, considered as one of the leading tourist hotspots in the country, has been deprived of basic necessities at present. Accordingly, various social segments along with the tourists have been severely affected due to the prevailing conditions. 2 toilet facilities were constructed in the area several years ago with the intention to provide sanitary facilities for the travellers. However, the condition of these facilities have worsened throughout the years and currently in a dilapidated state. Even though the community water and sanitation project was initiated in the area, the construction of the project have come to a halt at present. With the dilapidated facilities, the taxi drivers, mobile vendors and even police officers are faced with various difficulties. Several passengers have been using the toilet facilities at the Aller railway station to fulfill their needs. The failure to restore the water supply system in the town has caused a pollution situation in the surrounding area as well. Aller Pradesh Sabha has indicated the need for a water supply system with state-of-the-art facilities to keep the town clean.
The final rites of former governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, late H.B. Disanayake, was held at the Mirihana Public Cemetery today. He was 85 years of age at his demise. Late H.B. Disanayake was the 9th governor of Sri Lanka Central Bank. He functioned as the governor from July 1, 1992 until November 15, 1995. He had also assumed the Director General of Customs post as well. Following his retirement, the late former Central Bank governor Disanayake functioned as an alternative executive director of the IMF. Many representatives of the banking sector was present at the Mirihana Public Cemetery this evening for the final rites.
And now let's take a look at several local news in brief. A ceremony to commemorate the day to protect and support the victims and witnesses of a crime was held at the Palabatha Vidyavardhana School in Batharamulla with the participation of Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa. State Minister Tarak Balasuri is currently taking part in the 5th UN Conference on Least Developed Countries in Doha, Qatar. He engaged in several talks with foreign diplomats on the sidelines of the conference. An Uposatagare and Dhamma school building constructed to mark the 100th anniversary of Valana Sri Vijay Sugata Vidyala Pirivana in Panadura was declared open recently. It was held with the participation of Thai Ambassador Hord Hanpol and Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva. A dancel was organized at the Dambavina Historic Temple in Valimada yesterday. Accordingly, 20,000 of cabbage cultivated by a member of the Daika Sabha was distributed at the danceler. The body of the 47-year-old Russian national who was drowned in the Madal Harbour affiliated sea area in Kamodara was recovered by the residents of the area. Several wild elephants had entered the Dibulagala Aranya Senasana site last evening. The devotees of the temple and wildlife officers managed to chase the wild elephant to the national park in Gallella.
Now, Development Lotteries Board issued a special lottery, Lagnavasana Supri Dhanayogaya, which is expected to be drawn in the month of March to the market today. Draw of the special lottery will be held on March 24th. The Development Lotteries Board said that the jackpot, which is more than 2 million rupees along with other cash prizes, will be made available for the consumers. Chairman of the Development Lotteries Board, Ajit Naragala, was present at this occasion. That's all on local news. We'll be back with international stories after this break.
அவளது உலகம் கடமைகளால் நிறைந்தது. குடும்பம்தான் அவளின் வாழ்க்கையே. உலகையே தன்னால் வெற்றி கொள்ள முடிந்தாலும் அவள் சிலவற்றை மகிழ்ச்சியுடன் விட்டுக் கொடுக்கிறாள். அவளின் கனவுகள் தடைப்பட்டாலும் அவளால் அவர்கள் முன்னேறிச் செல்வதைக் கண்டு மனநிறைவடைகிறாள். நாள் முழுவதும் ஓய்வின்றி பம்பரம் போல் சுழன்று பணியாற்றும் வனிதையர்களுக்கு நிகரற்ற பலம் சேர்க்கும் பல்வேறு வசதிகளுடன் வனிதா வாசனா மக்கள் வங்கியிடமிருந்து.
பிள்ளைகள் பள்ளிக்கு செல்லும் முதல் நாளிலே முதல் பாடமாக சேமிப்பதை சொல்லிக் கொடுங்கள். சிசோதான கணக்கினை மக்கள் வங்கியுடன் ஆரம்பியுங்கள். அதிக வட்டி, அதிக பரிசுகள், அதிக சலுகைகள்.
Back with international news. At least 15 people have been killed with dozens missing after torrential rains and landslide hit Indonesia's Natuna region on the edge of the South China Sea.
The Indonesian officials confirmed another 50 people were missing. They also said the location of the landslide and continued rain were complicating search and rescue efforts, and communications had been cut off. A 60-person search and rescue team left to the island yesterday afternoon, with a journey expected to take 7 to 8 hours by fast boat. The officials said a helicopter would be deployed today to speed up the logistics delivery process. The Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky had said that operations to defend the embattled eastern city of Bakhmut will go on and are backed by senior generals. Eastern analysts suggested that the weekend that Ukraine was probably withdrawing from its troops as Russian forces close in on the city. Russia had been trying to take Bakhmut for months as both sides suffer heavy losses in a grinding war of attrition. A local official says there has been street fighting in recent days, but Deputy Mayor said at the weekend that Russia had not yet gained control of the city. Analysts say Bakhmut has little strategic value but has become a focal point for Russian commanders who have struggled to deliver any positive news to the Kremlin. Ukraine President Zelensky said that this in the evening address that he had discussed Bakhmut with senior generals. He said that the senior generals responded not to withdraw but to strengthen their defenses.
Everything, everywhere, all at once swept the independent spirit awards, taking home wins in nearly every major category and solidifying its Oscar Fortuna status. The kinetic multiverse spanning family opus won numerous awards, including the Best Film, Best Director and the Best Editing. Comedian Hansi Jiminja hosted the star-studded event live from Santa Monica Beach, California. The annual award host showed the honors of the best in independent film and television. This year, for the time in awards' 7-year-old history, the best actor categories were all gender-neutral, everything, everywhere. Written and directed by Kwan and Daniel Sharonet, swept the awards with a record-breaking 7 prizes, winning every category it was nominated in. Actor Ki Hoon Kyung took home the first award of the night for the Best Supporting Actor for his performance in Everything Everywhere. Later, Michael Yeon won the first Best Lead Performance in the film, and Stephanie Hisho took off her shoes to run on stage to accept the award for the Best Breakthrough Performance. It was also a big night for the first time nominees, and Ayo Edbrady won the Best Supporting Performance in a new scripted series for her role in The Bear. One of the most compelling moments of the night was when filmmaker Ray Davenport won the Terror Than Fiction Award. Davenport's film I Didn't See You There charts his everyday life as someone who navigates the world in a wheelchair due to his disability.
Is being told by someone that they really wanted. Prima Katami Fantamai.
On a sports update, Ukrainian Marta Kostyuk won her first WTA title at the first edition of the ATX Open yesterday. The ATX Open is part of the WTA Tour and is listed as the Women's Tennis Association 250 tournament.
20-year-old Kutsyuk beat 22-year-old Varvana Gasheva 6-3, 7-5 in Austin, Texas. Following the match, Kutsyuk refused to shake the hand of her Russian opponent Gracheva. She dedicated her victory to her country and all the people who are fighting and dying. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year, she was being outspoken about Russia's invasion of Ukraine and previously refused to shake the hand of the Belarusian Victorian Areska at the US Open. Belarus has been a key ally of Russia in the war against Ukraine.
Maiden main tour title.
Prima Katami Fantamai.
And that's all the news we have for tonight. Join us tomorrow and Channel I for the very latest. I'm the Lanjali together with Sharita signing off. Good night.
Have a pleasant night.